right? The kind of foundation laid. So we'll do the same thing here. There's a few things that come up nonstop. Parents, coaches, email your parents. You get ask for advice and whatnot. So then I'll spit out a few pieces of advice that I have learned over the years through coaching and wrestling, and hopefully it helps you guys. If not, that's fine too. But and then at the end, if you can have a couple of questions you can ask, I'll be happy to help you guys. If it takes 10 minutes, we'll be out here in 10 minutes. If it takes 45, then that's fine too. No great big hurry. But the most important thing is that, you know, if you guys maybe get something out of it, hearing other people's questions and whatnot. Here's some things I know about wrestling that will help. We spend a lot of time on wrestling technique because it's just so drill intensive to learn it all. There's a saying you might have heard is that technique won't fix an attitude problem. If you have an attitude problem in wrestling, it's not about drilling moves. Sometimes we lose a match and it had nothing to do with technique, but our coaches and parents grab us and we drill more wrestling technique. Right? That's not the heart of the matter. So there's something in life called stomping out fires. Diagnose your weakness and stomp it out. It's just that simple. If it is a technique thing, then stomp that fire out. If it's another issue, maybe you're not cutting your weight right. Maybe you don't know how to wrestle kids who, you know, maybe you have a hard time with dealing with the nerves of the big matches. A whole host of issues. All right? But if you don't fix that problem, it's going to keep coming back to haunting you. All right? Here's a couple things that I've learned over the years with wrestling, and sometimes you get to be older, you think, I don't wish I had it all to do over again, but, you know, armed with more knowledge, you know, you look back and you think, well, this does make sense now. You know, this is coaching advice I got, it didn't make sense to me back then. Or things that I've learned after I've been out of wrestling for so many years, and hopefully I can get some information to you guys that will help. That's why you go to camps. That's why you go to school. You go to the training so that you don't have to figure things out on your own. The worst thing you can do nowadays is try to figure things out on your own. Go online and figure it out. Somebody was asking me last night about, you know, nerves and things, and you know they have negative thoughts all the time. So go on the internet, Google it. There's a bunch of advice, a lot of free good advice out there. How about weight loss? Well, I don't really know how to cut weight or how to diet. If you don't, then go learn. You know, back when I was a kid, we didn't even have a VCR until I was like sophomore or junior in high school. Not even a VCR, no video, no camcorders, none of that. All right? You guys can go on the internet right now and watch the Russian national tournament. You can go on the internet and Google weight loss or, you know, various strength and conditioning programs. It's all on there, so there's really no excuse. All right? And if you just keep asking people for advice, seek it out on your own. Right? And like I said, the worst thing you can do is try to figure things out on your own without going outside. I always say this, you can probably learn physics on your own. It might take 300 years, but you can probably do it. It's easier to take a class and learn, all right? Or learn how to build a deck, or learn wrestling technique, or learn a golf swing, or learn history, or you know, learn how to weld, or learn how to sell insurance, or whatever your career is at one day. And that's the reason we have teachers and programs and camps and things, okay? But the internet is a wonderful place too. But here's some things I know for a fact that could possibly help you guys with wrestling. This is advice I give to all guys nonstop, and then you guys can ask a few questions. One is, good advice is for you to kind of develop your own style of wrestling. I hate when coaches say, well, we do Iowa style, we do Oklahoma State style, this style, that style. Now colleges are coming up with their own style. This is Tiger style, this is that style, this is Duke style, whatever. You know, there's really not much style anymore nowadays. Wrestling's got so competitive. I think everybody recruits everybody, but there might be a little bit of that still at a couple of college programs. But they recruit guys who already fit their mold. All right. I always say this: if I take a 390-pound lineman and put him at wide receiver, he probably can't make a JV football team in high school. If I put him on the line, he's worth millions of dollars, right? He's in the right position or spot. Well, wrestling, I don't have positions. I might be a little short, stocky, powerful guy wrestling a skinny, fast guy. We're both out there, so it's my job to pick a style that fits me, and because I don't have a position on the field like we do in other sports. So to say, oh, we wrestle this style in my high school room. Or, it's silly, because I have all sorts of guys in my room. I have shy kids, smart kids, kids who are just like they're grinders, different personalities, different body types. So it's a good thing for you is to sit down with a piece of paper and say, what is my style of wrestling? Okay? A lot of it has to do with your personality too, right? If you're a smart, kind of quiet, introverted kid, you're not going to be a tough guy wrestler. You're not, all right? Most of the best wrestlers in the history of the world haven't been, right? Those kind of guys are fun to watch and talk about, right? Try to sell camp spots by putting them on the internet and stuff. But most people aren't tough guy wrestlers, okay? Whatever your personality is, that's going to depict the way you wrestle. And if you are kind of a tough guy and a grinder and a fighter kind of guy, and you know that might be your style of wrestling too. Your personality has just as much to do with it as your body type. As far as your style of wrestling, your body type, a short, powerful, strong guy is going to wrestle differently than a real fast, quick guy, right? If you try to make Tom Brands wrestle like John Smith, you probably wouldn't have been as good. And if you try to make John Smith wrestle like Tom Brands, he probably wouldn't have been as good as he was. But they were confident enough to say, this is how I got to wrestle to win matches. All right? And you watch the college guys on the NCAAs on ESPN, before the finals, they always say, you know, I'll talk to my coach and feel good about the match, you know, all the same old stuff they say. But I got to stay in my positions. And I got to stay out of his positions. So if this guy's a crab rider, I don't want to get in those positions. All right? If I'm an underhook guy, and he wants to wrestle from the outside because he's got a great blast double, let's say, I got to crowd the guy and tie and grab his head and underhook him because that's my position. And his goal is to stay outside. Different styles of wrestling. I got to stay in my positions. If I wrestle in his positions, I'm going to be in trouble. Okay? So a lot of it comes down to your personality and also your body type. So, you know, think about your style of wrestling. Generally, you have, you know, some guys are grinders, some guys are smart wrestlers, some guys wrestle out of motion a lot, they move a lot, and kind of a more slick style of wrestling. We preach with our guys to wrestle smart, solid wrestling. Get the match won, then open up from there. It's important to get the match under control. The hard part about wrestling I've learned after being away from it for so long, or not, you know, in competition, is that it's the clock. 6 minutes is not much time. If the wrestling match is 15 minutes, the best guy would win every time. Think about high school soccer. I believe those are 45-minute halves. All right, hour and a half. That's a long time for a game. An hour and a half. If a wrestling match was an hour and a half, the best guy would win every time. It's only a 6-minute match. You little guys have 4.5 minutes. Wrestlebacks, you have 3, right? That's not much time. The best guy doesn't win. The guy that scores the most points wins. The guy that wrestles the smartest. So I see a lot of us lose big matches. It's because we beat ourselves, not because someone beat us. That's the reason I preach one style, which is to wrestle smart, which isn't really a style, it's an approach. If he's a grinder, fine. You gotta be smart though. If he's a fast, slick guy and he likes to take a lot of shots, fine. He's smart though. If he's more of a positioning, smart guy, he likes to beat everybody 3-0, that's fine. Be smart with that though, okay? So a good game plan for everybody is just to wrestle very smart and solid. Don't beat yourself, okay? And that's, I think, is some of the best advice you guys could have. All right, so again, take a piece of paper and just kind of evaluate yourself a little bit. You know, at this camp, 14-day camp, you guys have been wrestling a long time. You're really serious about this sport, or you wouldn't come to a camp like this. Second-year JV kid that got pinned 14 times this year, he doesn't need to worry as much about style. He needs to know how to down block and get the same stance, how to come off bottom. He's got some issues to work with here. He doesn't have the instincts. You know, he hasn't had enough live wrestling hours to have the instincts he needs. So not that diagnosing his style wouldn't be beneficial. He's got a lot of, he needs to do that plus 100 other things. But you guys, at this point, a lot of you guys are, tons of you guys are winning state titles and placing in national tournaments. I've seen the list of some of the guys we have at this camp. It might be time for you to really focus and give yourself a little bit of direction, okay? And Take a piece of paper and say, what is my style of wrestling? Okay? And a lot of it has to do with your personality. What's your approach? Okay? If your coach is trying to make you be a grinder and that's not your personality, don't do it. Okay? It's not going to work for you. Now, from a technique standpoint, we have at the Dream Season Camp, that drill plan is pretty much all you need, I think. I've been doing this for a lot of years. Focus on that. Then you pick a couple of things. So from a front headlock, it's a very common position. We have, 8 different ways to score from a front headlock. You're going to pick the 1 or 2 that best suit you. You might be a knee tap guy. You might be a go behind guy or a shove guy. Or, so your job is to drill everything, and so you can kind of become a jack of all trades and be solid in every position. But you might master. You might be a tilt man. All right. You know how to ride legs, but you're mostly a tilt man. Then you might be a leg rider. If you get a wrist, he knows how to hit an Eastern roll. Okay? He's going to make his living on the mat by riding legs. Okay? So from a technique aspect, we got style out of the way. Technique, you want to have a plan. I say, a couple layers of the cake there, maybe some icing and decorations. That's what we got here. All right? A couple layers of the cake, which is where most of your points come from. Probably 90% of your points come from 10% of the wrestling. That's what we're going to focus on in here. But there are some tricks and things, and we'll cover, especially defensive tricks and counters to counters. You have a counter to a counter to a counter to a front headlock. You're not going to use that very often, but it's so important. It's got to be on that drill plan. That's kind of an icing type technique. Snapping down and down blocking and getting to a single leg. That's how you're going to score most of your points, though. Right? It's the foundation kind of stuff we call it. So once you have a good drill plan in place, which I would just follow that. That's what I do with my son, and that's what I think you guys should do. But it's your job to pick a couple of things to master and have as a weapon. All right? I got great advice years ago from a very good coach. He's like, Purler, you and your brother problem is this. You'll wrestle from any position. If they underhook, you overhook. If they overhook, you underhook. If they wrestle outside, you wrestle outside. If they want to tie up, you'll tie up. If they want to go over body, you'll do that too. I'm like, that's good. Me and my brother, we used to talk about we wouldn't be dangerous in all positions. We would fight, so we would go literally 6 months without ever wrestling live. It was just drill, because we would fight too much. And looking back, it was a good thing, all in all. But anyway, so I was like, I like being able to wrestle from all positions, and learning different wrestling technique, and knowing how to, just wrestle from all positions. And he said, you know what? That is good that you can wrestle from all positions, but you're going to get a hold of a guy in college wrestling. I learned this when I was a freshman. That underhooks for a living. You're going to get a hold of somebody that makes their living in wrestling by wrestling outside, and you're not going to win because that's all they do. They can inside trip, they can single leg, they can underhook, but if they make their living in these positions, and you wrestle wide open, whatever you want to do, let's go. If I get stuck in an underhook, you should know how to wrestle from there. It's good that you can wrestle from all positions. That's why you have a good drill plan. But it's your job to stay only in the positions that are great for you. And that's the same thing you hear a lot of times on the ESPN when the college guys are talking about the finals matches and things. Okay? So take that drill plan, master all of it,